Hello there and welcome to the video. So quite recently I did a small little photo spring trip. And as the kind of half-price Ben Horn I am, I returned to the same location for the third year in a row. And it sits in this very beautiful landscape of Bohuslän, and the spot I visited is about an hour and a half north of Gothenburg at the west coast of Sweden. And this year around I parked half the camera that Ben Horn uses, a 4x10. This is my first day of my spring trip to the land of the cliffs. Enjoy! The first bit of the trip isn't much to write home about, but this last little stretch is rather beautiful on this tight road that gets tighter and tighter as it leads up to camp. And we have arrived. This is very much a family vacation kind of place. And I do suspect it is rather busy during the high season. But a month or so before that, it is rather peaceful and quiet. And I will be staying at this very tiny cabin, perhaps Sweden's smallest, who knows. Well, good morning. I'm just having my coffee and my breakfast. It's a little after 8 now. And I arrived quite late last night, so I pretty much just went straight to bed. I watched on TV and then I fell asleep. And the plan for today is, well, first I need to do a bit of a grocery run. And then I'm going to go out on the cliffs and explore. I have a couple of my smaller cameras with me. So we're going to go out and explore with them. And the problem with Sweden and most of the Nordic hemisphere is that the days are very long. It's kind of what it makes it nice during the summertime. But it's kind of a problem for us photographers that like to go out during sunrise and sunset. And I'm not going to do both, because I do need to sleep. And I am here on vacations, I want to relax a bit as well. So I'm not going to do both. Instead I'm going to do the sunset shoot, partly because this location is more of a sunset location, but also because I am an evening person. So that's the plan. I'll finish off my breakfast and I'll see you out on the cliffs. I did bring my cameras for this little scouting, so might as well take a few snapshots. And this first one? Not the best, after a rocky start. A second attempt? This might be better, but it wasn't. But as you might know, I do like my woodlands, and when we arrived at some woodlands, the photography got a lot better, and I am very happy with some of these photographs.
did actually have a goal in mind for this little scouting. I wanted to climb the rocks and get to a higher vantage point overlooking the very beautiful rocks of Jerusalem. And when I reached the top, I did take a few more snapshots. And well, the images are so-so. I haven't quite decided if I like them or not, but it is a nice way to explore a place. That looks rather interesting. I kind of want to get down there and have a look at those trees up close. It turned out to be kind of a dead end, but I did like this tree and that triangle of the shadow there. It looked kind of interesting.
So I'm just going over like the test shots I took from that location with my mobile phone, or memos as they are called in this app. I'm using the Film Photography Viewfinder app for Android. I do think it's available for iOS nowadays as well. And yeah, it's quite a nice app to kind of let you pre-visualize different formats and different focal length. So I did that for my 4x10. And even though I didn't find one composition that I felt, oh, that is the one, I do think there are potential to that location and that spot. So we'll try and see if we can frame anything up with the actual camera. I did notice though that I accidentally put in 210mm as my focal length in the app, and the lens I had for 4x10 is 250. It's close enough, so it will be a slightly tighter crop, but 250, 210, that ain't a big difference. So I do have high hopes. I am going to cook up some dinner before, and we'll head out in an hour or something like that. I will pack a small little snack so I don't get hungry out on location, but the idea is to be able to stay out until sunset. Wish me luck. This is the first image I've taken with the 4x10, my first like proper image, if that makes sense. It's this lovely scene that I spotted before, the one that excited me the most. We have this tree, quite light tree against quite a dark rock, and a lighter rock in the foreground, kind of just nestled in there. I actually think this could work quite nice. I have two things I'm kind of concerned about. Even though there's very little wind today, there is a slight breeze shaking those very delicate leaves. So I'll try to time it the best I can. There's also the shadow up at the top. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I couldn't really crop it out, I couldn't move any closer. And I do intend of contact printing this, so I can't really crop it in post either. But it might still work. I'm going to stick it around, see what happens with that shadow. And if it creeps away from the frame, I might do a second exposure here. Ideally, I would like to take another exposure anyway, just because I want to have those leaves tack sharp. The problem with that though, I only have 2 film holders for this camera, so 4 sheets in total. So I am debating with myself if it's worth taking another shot at this scene or not. We'll see. Kind of wanted one grand landscape, hustle a bit, but this might work. We have quite nice light on those rocks there, kind of foreground interest there, going into the landscape here, and a couple of islands in the background. Used ND, or graduated ND for the first time. This is from the Haida M10 kit. So 3-stop though. I probably would have used a 2-stop if I had one. But this was the only one I had, so I did the best I could. I think it will benefit the scene anyhow. I did spot another scene here though. Down there, there's a couple of plants of some sort that are illuminated by the sun very beautifully. So I am going to try and hustle a bit and get down there, frame it up. I just run down there, and I do think I found one composition for it. So a bit of a hustle, and we'll do the last little exposure there. For my own notes, this was f22 at 1/2 of a second. Measured for the rocks in the foreground and those grasses there as my shadows, and I did an average metering. So I did finish off the last sheet as well. That went a bit hectic. I had to scramble a bit. I was really attracted by those white fluffy stuff. No idea what they're called, but I thought they might look interesting in a black and white image, like a nice little interest point. So I went to frame up that, and I kind of scrambled down without the camera, used my mobile phone, tried to find a composition. And I do think I found one, but it might have worked better at a 4x5 or square. Because as I had to rush, my mind kind of went, oh, this is what I usually do. And I didn't think enough about that panoramic 4x10 format. So I do feel like this is quite a centric composition. Bit of interest to the right, a couple of leading lines, nicely illuminated rocks to the right. So the right hand side of the image kind of works, but on the left hand side it's kind of a lot of dead space. I'm not sure that will actually work. We'll see when we have it developed and I have had some time to process it and what I think about it. But yeah, 4x10, beautiful format to work with, really enjoying it, and something I feel like I can grow with. It will be a fun challenge in the future as well. Now the sun has set, time to head back, while we still have some ambient light.
So that was quite a nice first day of that trip, and photography-wise, it was decent. If we start with the smaller format, it was kind of a mixed bag. There's only one image I do consider printworthy with a bit of perspective, and that is one of the woodlands. It kind of have this mythical quality to it. You have two main subjects with the trees to the right and to the left. But they themselves aren't super interesting. Instead, what makes this image is the light coming in from the right, kind of illuminating the foliage and the grasses. But you also have a secondary subject up to the right of the rocks, so you have this nice trio of subject matters. And they kind of work, but not in a super obvious way. And that's kind of what makes this an interesting image to me. And I do think I'll try and print this out in the darkroom to see if it actually works on paper as well. And well, these 35mm images were just a preparation for the main event later that evening, when I went out with the 4x10 camera. And the best image from that session is the first one. It has this very simple yet powerful composition with those leading lines towards that main subject. It's also very well suited to that panoramic format. And I did do 2 exposures of this scene. As I did stick around at that spot, I recognized that the light got a lot better. And the first exposure, it's nice, but it lacks a bit of spark. The second one that I stuck around for is a lot better. However, I made a mistake out in the field. The keen eye might have noticed that this image isn't quite 4x10. And that's because when I was out in the field, I didn't recheck the composition on the ground glass. And my shadow crept into frame. So I had to crop it a bit in post. I still think it works, and I still consider this one of my best images of late. If we move on to the second image, it has quite a nice simple composition with a few leading lines. But it is a bit obvious, and it lacks a proper subject. It's mostly just a nice viewpoint. One thing to note though is that this image is flipped, as was the previous one. And I do that sometimes because I, find it beneficial to that image. And often it is because I want an interest point on the left hand side of the image. Because me as a Westerner, I read an image from left to right. And having an entry point to the left is often to be preferred to having it on the right hand side. And in this case it is those illuminated rocks. Didn't help the image enough though, it's still just mid, and I won't be printing this image. And then we have the final image of that evening that I had so high hope for out in the field. And well, the idea was quite nice. Those white fluffy stuff could have worked as a subject in an image. But it was poorly executed. The composition doesn't really support the subject as it should. It doesn't really work in 4x10. All in all, this is just a bad image. But I must say I did enjoy that 4x10 format. It's kind of fun to explore the world in that panoramic format. And I also tried and contact print that first scene, and I am impressed with the result. The image quality is something else, even compared to a 4x5 enlargement. You might then ask, well, why didn't you go for 8x10 then, if you are going to contact print? That surely must be better. And it probably is. I haven't tried it myself, we'll see what the future holds. But I went with 4x10 for 2 reasons. One was the weight of this camera. It's around 2 kilograms without the lens, and that's really light. But the second one is probably the more important one. I wanted a panoramic format. To explore the world in a panoramic format, as I said, is something else. I haven't really spoken about this camera, the Ondu Eikan 4x10, but there's a video coming up about that soon. I'll make a first impression kind of review, and you can expect that video in a few weeks. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, take care, and bye.